Hearing that, the freshmen in the gym got all excited. They raised their hands and said they wanted to try it out, but 2 hours passed, and the spy never responded. Whether it's torture or not, or whatever it takes, he just won't talk. So much so that later on, the picture got weird and strange. There were drums and gongs. There's even an attempt at chanting. Xiling is a headache at the sight of this scene. At that moment, Xiao Xiao asked Jiangxi curiously, "Do you have a way to make him talk?" And when Jiangxi learns that he's the one responsible for starting the melee, he volunteered that he could make him talk. This maneuver caused Xiao Xiao to freeze next to him. Hasn't he always kept a low profile? Why the sudden initiative today? Turns out that Jiangxi wanted to find out from him why his men were going crazy. Soon enough, Jiangxi arrives at the room where the spy is being held. He looked at Jiangxi without any fear. Then he looked away and said, "Come on, you can use any punishment you want on me." But after a long wait, Jiangxi just stood there and didn't say a word. "What's the matter? Is there no one at your school? Can't believe you sent this piece of shit against me." But his words were not yet finished. Jiangxi sliced a small hole in his arm with a swish, looking at the small cut on his wrist. With a disdainful sneer, he says, "Is that all you've got? I'm not even afraid of all kinds of torture. Are you tickling me?" Jiangxi isn't angry. Instead, he calmly said, "Get up." As his words finished, the spy actually stood up. The crowd was shocked to see this. How did he do that? It turns out Jiangxi planted a zombie virus in the spy's wound. As the virus slowly deepens, in less than a moment, the virus has taken over his entire brain. The spy is now a completely obedient zombie. Not only does he begin to give his background and obey Jiangxi's next orders. At this point, Xiao Xiao is completely dumbfounded. She didn't realize that Jiangxi had the special ability to manipulate other people's minds. At this point, Jiangxi asks, "The zombies had been very peaceful before. Why are they suddenly out of control?" The spy said, "Because Jemming spread the potion over the city, and these zombies go crazy when they come in contact with the potion. Jemming will then order them to fight against abnormal humans, thus acquiring the data." Hear this, Jiangxi asked again, "Why are you doing this?" The spy said he didn't know why either. All he knows is that Jemming collects data for a greater good. He then went on to reveal Dr. Jemming's hiding place. It's 500 meters below H City. The crowd that saw this scene can no longer be described as surprised. At that moment, Jiangxi suddenly turned his back and said in zombie language, "I put a kill yourself virus in your head. You're on your own." As Jiangxi finishes his words, the spy responded with a mumbled reply and then went to get his boxed lunch. It's over. Jiangxi's zombie identity has been discovered. With a tachyon cannon shot from the student council president, surprisingly, it blows Jiangxi's head off in an instant. Just now, Jiangxi utilizes the power of his zombie virus, succeeded in learning the whereabouts of Dr. Jemming from the spies, and also found out the reason why the zombie citizens went berserk. And then when he walked out of the interrogation room, everyone is looking at him in horror. Even Xiling couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. But Lanchi, the president of the Gen Club, looks at him with interest. At this point, the president on the podium claps his hands and says it's good. The first-year class is a real hive of talent. Then he asked Jiangxi to go with him to register for the vice president's information. Lanchi, who heard this, was stunned. Since when do vice presidents have to register? Looking at Jiangxi, who is slowly walking towards the back of the gym, Lanchi can't help but follow with his men. Meanwhile, on the other side, 500 meters below the surface of a ruined city, Ming, according to reliable sources, our spy has confessed. Dr. Jemming didn't panic at all when he heard this. Instead, he said, "Then let them come." Green Hair was shocked at his words. Then he said that those guys are not vegetarians. But Dr. Jemming, unperturbed, walks over to the side of the labware and says, "They're here just in time. Anyway, the experiment is almost complete. Let them witness this great moment. The birth of a new species." The scene is once again on the academy side. The chairman is seen leading Jiangxi to an abandoned factory. At this point, Jiangxi looks puzzled. "Didn't you say you'd take me to register? Why is it still getting more desolate?" At this point, the president suddenly spoke up and asked, "When did you learn to speak human?" Jiangxi is visibly stunned by this statement. But before he could reply, the president suddenly turned around and pointed his gun at him. With a bang, Jiangxi's head was instantly drowned in a pillar of energy. Even Lanchi, who was following them, was almost killed. After she had slowed down, Lanchi is shocked to say that the chairman's tachyon cannon is really scary. At that moment, the chairman looked at Jiangxi, who had his head blown off, and muttered, "Though I don't know how you managed to sneak into the academy, but a zombie's weakness is in the head, and you've had the misfortune of meeting me." And just when he's still smug about it, Jiangxi, who was originally motionless, suddenly made an instantaneous flash. In the next instant, he grabbed the chairman by the neck with one hand. With a thud, the president was pushed into the wall by Jiangxi. A few robots suddenly fell from the sky. They're firing a barrage at Jiangxi, and the chairman took advantage of this gap to hastily escape from Jiangxi's hands. But the scene in front of him stunned him again. The headless Jiangxi crushed all the robots in the field with his bare hands. It's coming. Jiangxi's second form has finally arrived. Just now, Jiangxi, after taking care of all the bots, the chairman on the sidelines is aghast. What the fuck is this shit? A zombie without a head is still so strong. Lanchi and her men, who are hiding in the shadows, are completely dumbfounded. Just then, Jiangxi suddenly made a power-up. In the next second, he's already at the president's side. But the president isn't slow. He can counterattack while dodging Jiang Xi's attack. A tachyon cannon is fired, but it doesn't hit Jiang Xi. The president is in a state of shock. How can this guy be so flexible without a head? But he can't think about it now, because Jiang Xi's fist was already swinging at him like lightning. Just in the nick of time, the president rushes back and dodges a few dozen meters to distance himself. That's good. You're the first zombie that can make me go all out. Let's hope this fight doesn't end too soon. Hearing that, Lan Shi, next to him, knows that the chairman is getting serious. Jiang Xi on the other side. At this moment, he suddenly mutated. His head, which had been shattered, grew back. The two Lan Shis were dumbfounded by this scene. What kind of creature is this? At this point, Jiang Xi spoke up. Let's talk about it. I don't want to hurt you. The president feels the small cut on his neck. Then he slowly took off his clothes and said, your plan may have failed. I'm a robot. You can't control me at all. As his words finish, several figures flew through the air. Just a few seconds, those pillars of light converged on the president's body. As the white mist slowly clears, a mech-covered robot is added to the field. Zombie, I hope you can hold out a little longer, because it's been a long time since I've used my full power. With that, he rushed towards Jiang Xi with great speed. In a split second, Jiang Xi was hit in the jaw by his kick. Not only that, just before Jiang Xi even hits the ground, the president instantly flashed below him again, throws a barrage of punches to the chest. The force of that punch sent Jiang Xi flying 100 meters into the air. At this point, the two men watching from the sidelines are completely stunned. Is this the strength of the chairman? The chairman flew over Jiang Xi again. And then there were countless thumps and bangs. Jiang Xi was punched so many times in the air by the chairman. When it feels like it's almost time, the chairman came to Jiang Xi's body in a flash. And then he stomped him into the ground. Just as Jiang Xi hit the ground, at that moment, a red energy light suddenly illuminates on the president's chest. Next send, a powerful shockwave is seen blasting towards the ground. This horrible energy even shook out the surrounding buildings. The chairman, who had finally stopped, breathed a sigh of relief and said, he's gonna die this time, isn't he? But when the smoke clears, Jiang Xi came out of it in one piece. The president was in disbelief when he saw this. At that moment, Jiang Xi in the center of the arena suddenly yells to the sky. The terrifying power of the roar caused Lan Shi, who was several hundred meters away, to almost lose his footing. The president's mech even cracked on the spot. When Jiang Xi stopped hissing and slowly turned around, the duo watching the fight are stunned on the spot, because at that moment, Jiang Xi had already changed into his second form. Never mess with a Jiang Xi with hair, because he just casually fucked the mighty chairman into scrap metal with a single blow. Just now, Jiang Xi has unlocked his second form. He just appeared on the scene and caused the world to change. At this moment, a fierce wind began to blow with Jiang Xi at the center. It's even affecting the entire city. Xiao Xiao, who saw this scene from afar, was in disbelief. Lan Shi, who was in the battlefield at the time, was so scared that she didn't dare to utter a word. While everyone was looking puzzled, Jiang Xi, still in the abandoned warehouse, finally speaks up. I told you from the beginning, I don't really want to go to war with humans. The chairman who heard this was stunned. But when he was about to retort, Jiang Xi, however, suddenly laughed with a tilt of his head and said, how do you want to die now? This bizarre scene was a shock to the Lan Shi duo next to them. How did he not only change his form, but his personality as well? The two of them then began to run away at breakneck speeds. After all, it's their own lives that matter. However, the chairman, who was still on the field at the time, didn't even think about his current situation. He even arrogantly stated, I've never been scared of a zombie in my entire life. After that, he clamored for Jiang Xi to fight him again. At this point, Lan Shi, who had already fled a long way away at great speed, was thinking, this distance should be considered safe now, right? Suddenly, a figure passes right by them with a thud. The two people who saw this scene were instantly shocked, because the chairman was blown to pieces by Jiang Xi's punch. However, before they could react, Jiang Xi had already flashed in front of them again. The president rushed to call out for his mechs, but the robots were still in midair when they were blown to smithereens by the Jiang Xi with a bang. Lan Shi, who was still in the air at the moment, was also shaken down by the aftermath of the explosion. When the president saw this, he shouted at them, help me kill that zombie. But Lan Shi doesn't want to talk to him. He's so strong, who would dare to go on him? There you go. The three of them ran off in different directions. But Jiang Xi, who saw the scene, didn't move. Instead, he raised his right hand, and then it plunged into the ground. In the next second, the earth began to shake. And Lan Shi, who was still escaping towards the outside at the moment, froze in her tracks, because she was suddenly blocked by a concrete road in front of her. Even the chairman was hit by this sudden roadblock. Turns out that Jiang Xi has lifted an entire new city under development. The crowd was dumbfounded by the sight. What the hell is this? Is there an earthquake? Xiao Xiao on the other side is also looking at everything in front of her with disbelief. This is an uninhabited city. Unexpectedly, it was lifted. At that moment, Jiang Xi in the middle of the battlefield suddenly made a power move. With a thud, he's heading towards the president with great speed. Just for a moment, Jiang Xi put one hand on the president's head. He then grinned and said, how was it? Do you feel scared now? Jiang Xi's subordinate, a Jew, finally couldn't take it anymore. He actually rallied the citizens to attack the humans. Just now, after Jiang Xi changed into his second form, in just a few rounds he easily took down the unstoppable chairman. At that moment, Jiang Si said with a wicked smile, although I have no control over the robot. But your brain isn't made of machines, is it? With that, he cut the chairman's scalp with his finger. In the next second, countless Jiang Si viruses took over the chairman's entire brain in an instant. Jiang Si read some memories from his brain. I didn't realize that the seemingly unstoppable chairman was also a poor man. When he was 5 years old, his parents died in an accident. And then Dr. Jeming captured him for body modification. From the head down, there's almost no place that's normal. Seeing this, Jiang Si couldn't help but pity him. He said, living like this, aren't you more of a zombie than us? Then he let go of his hand. Jiang Si just let him go. Lanchi down below rushes over and catches the dying chairman. She is also in a state of shock. I didn't realize that Jiang Si had the ability to read other people's memories. Waiting for the nighttime, Jiang Si rushes back to the dormitory and packs his bags while thinking, how did I lose control of my emotions again? I've been exposed. I'd better run away. But as he takes his luggage and prepares to leave, Xiling, however, appeared out of nowhere and stopped him in his tracks. Jiang Si is helpless at the moment. I'm obviously a very kind zombie, really don't like killing people. But for freedom, still, with a single turn he lurches towards Xiling. However, at this point, Xiling suddenly showed him a letter of appointment. And it also said, from today you're the vice president of the Academy for Abnormal Humans. When he heard this, Jiang Si was puzzled. But the appointment letter in front of him doesn't look like a fake. And then he subconsciously asked, was this stamped by the president himself? Also, didn't he say anything else to you? Xiling indicated with a slight sideways glance. The president just said you're a rare talent. He didn't say much else. And meanwhile, on the other side, Lanchi is shocked when she learns that the chairman is leaving Jiang Si behind. However, the chairman says, it doesn't matter if he's a zombie or a human. The main thing is that he can help us catch Dr. Jeming. And then ask Lanchi, how's the arrangement going this time? At this, Lanchi says she's ready. We're ready to go anytime. Good. Let's hope we succeed in catching Dr. Jeming this time. The screen turns. At this point inside some abandoned town, a Jew hissed angrily. Our king has been captured by the humans. What should we do? Kill the humans. Rescue the great king. At this moment, Jiang Si's minions are passionate. However, Blackie on the roof is disdainful. How could our king be captured by human? I think it's just that a Jew's got too much time on his hands. And so, after a few days of peace, at this time, an aircraft carrier suddenly appeared in the sea. The president stood in the command center and shouted into the microphone. Everyone listen up. There's only one chance. Dr. Jeming must be captured at all costs. It wasn't long before they arrived at the ruined city where Dr. Jeming was hiding. But Jiang Si took Xiao Xiao with him as if he were shopping. Look around. That's it. A group of human armed forces suddenly appeared. As soon as they saw Jiang Si, they all saluted him. Jiang Si was baffled by this maneuver. At that moment, the captain stepped forward and reported that, as of today, the 56th Army Group, consisting of 120,000 men, only follow the orders of Mr. Jiang Si, the vice president. It's over. Jiang Si's little brother, Aju, is under human control. Just now, the president is trying to catch Dr. Jeming. He gave a group of human troops to Jiang Si. Looking at the 120,000 humans at his disposal, Jiang Si asked curiously, is it true that if I told you to die right now you'd be willing to do it? With his words just falling out of his mouth, the soldier immediately took out his grenade and shouted, this is my honor. This left Jiang Si speechless. What's wrong with this guy? And then, a dissonant voice suddenly interrupted his thoughts. I don't get it. Such a strategically important location is being guarded by a little piece of shit. You guys better be good and hide behind us later. I don't want you to get hurt by mistake. Xiao Xiao suddenly exclaimed. Are you the president and vice president of Stainless Steel Academy? Meanwhile, over at the carrier, a teenager in armor taunts relentlessly. Is there no one left at your academy? I can't believe you're sending a rookie to guard such an important strategic position. Upon hearing this, Lanchi immediately retorted. If you want to help, then help. Don't talk nonsense in front of me. At this point, the chairman also came up and added, do you believe this new guy can beat the shit out of you? That comment made President Steele's face full of disdain. Then he said he'd sent reinforcements. You're in for a treat. And in a control room a few hundred meters underground, Ming, they've all entered the city. What do we do? Dr. Jeming smiled evilly at this and said, well, let's play with them first. With that, he pressed a button on the console. Next, countless zombies are coming at Jiang Si and the others from all sides of the city. And that's when it happened. Green Hair suddenly realizes how there's a strange thing mixed in with the zombie horde. So it's Aju trying to get revenge on the humans. So he encouraged the zombies to attack the humans. But the next day, only one of them followed. And after he put the gasoline in Aju's hand, he ran away. As he left, he said that he wouldn't dare disobey the king's orders. Aju was speechless when he heard this. Can't we just keep the king from knowing? These gutless bastards. Isn't it just a few human beings? Let's see how I'm going to cut them down. But just then, the green gas floating down in the air made him sniff it curiously. Green Hair was overjoyed at this sight. He didn't realize that this zombie stats were ridiculously high. At the thought of this, Green Hair couldn't help but laugh out loud. Come on, let's see how strong you really are. Meanwhile, on the ground, the weaker zombies were quickly wiped out. Looking at the zombie corpses in front of us, the Jiang Si is also full of questions. This doesn't seem to be my ethnic group. Xiao Xiao turns her head sharply when she hears this. I don't know anything about this. At that moment, Steel President suddenly stepped forward and taunted him. You're all weaklings. You better go home to your mommy. Don't stay here and get in the way. But he hadn't finished his sentence. There was a sudden roar in the distance. Jiang Si saw this and rushed forward to ask, Aju, what are you doing here? But Aju doesn't answer his question. Instead, he drank the gasoline in his hand. Xiao Xiao is totally shocked by this scene. What the hell is this? Suddenly Aju pulls the chainsaw in his hand. The roar of the engine was instantaneous. Then Aju suddenly looked up and roared. Then he charged towards Jiang Si. Do you know how strong Jiang Si's little brother Aju is? Just a random hit beat the president of the baseball club so bad he cried out for his mom. Just now, Aju, by mistake, inhaled the green potion. He can't even recognize his own boss, Jiang Si, and then he pulls out his chainsaw and goes to war with the humans. Aju roars up to the sky. In the next second, the buildings around them cracked open. Xiao Xiao, who was directly in front of him, was flown out of the building. Luckily, Jiang Si showed up just in time, helping them block most of the attacks. At this point, Xiao Xiao asked with a horrified look on her face, what the hell is this guy? Aju, who is completely out of control at the moment, screams about killing humans. Hearing this, President Bang became interested. That's good. Finally, a decent zombie. But then the Jiang Si pulls Xiao Xiao along for the ride. Xiao Xiao is puzzled and asks, why are we running away? Isn't there a President Bang here? Jiang Si said without looking back. Don't be stupid. That guy can't be killed. Xiao Xiao is shocked to hear this. At this point, Jiang Si reminded, Aju is truly immortal. But their escape was seen by President Bang as Jiang Si's fear. But he wasn't done taunting. Aju punches the vice president right next to him and sends him flying. With a loud thud, it's only now that President Bang reacts. He then hurriedly turned around and asked, what's the situation? What just happened? However, at the moment, the vice president was completely speechless. By the time he looked back again, Aju has somehow gotten in front of him. And then there's a series of thumps and thumps. Green Hair in the surveillance room exclaims, this is awesome. This guy's combat power is simply off the charts. And the president of the stick in the middle of the field is in deep shit. He's trying to fight back. But in the next second, Aju slapped him in the face and spun him around. And then he kicked him several hundred meters away. And with a thud, President Bang and the vice president lost their fighting power in an instant. Aju came at them with another flash. He then raises the chainsaw in his hand and slashes at him. And on the other side, on the roof of a building, Jiang Si and the three of them are relaxing and watching the show. Xiao Xiao shouted, oh no, it looks like President Bang is about to lose it. President Bang, who was so arrogant just a moment ago, and now Aju's beating him up and making him cry for his mommy. The Xiao Xiao duo are in a state of shock at this scene. Aju is about to take the life of President Bang. The squad leader next to him hurriedly asked, Vice President Jiang, what do we do now? Jiang Si thinks to himself as he observes Aju's movements. If I make a move, I'm probably going to blow my cover. He then turned his head to Xiao Xiao and said, you go down and beat him up. Hearing this, Xiao Xiao hurriedly said, even President Bang is no match for that guy. Wouldn't I be serving him dessert if I went down there? However, Jiang Si doesn't pay any attention to her ranting. Instead, he bites down on her arm. Afterward, Xiao Xiao was confused. Oh no, am I going to turn into a zombie? Then she put her hands on her chest and scolded angrily, you're not trying to have bad thoughts about me, are you? The Jiang Si who heard this was speechless. And then he said, remember to be gentle when you beat him up. Turns out that Xiao Xiao is under the control of a zombie virus. She's already transformed into a fighting loli. It's over. Jiang Si has bitten someone. But not only did the bitten girl not turn into a zombie, instead her fighting power went straight up. It's all because Jiang Si is afraid of revealing her identity, so he used his super zombie virus, and he reorganized and upgraded Xiao Xiao's genes. Just for a moment, Xiao Xiao transforms into a battle loli. Just as Aju was about to kill President Bang, Xiao Xiao hurriedly smashes a rock on top of his head. Aju turned around in irritation and asked, who is it? How dare you mess with me? At this time Xiao Xiao walked up without haste and said, the one with the saw, what's the point of bullying a weakling? Come play with me. Aju is stunned when he hears this. Then he said with a hard look in his eyes, what are you? You're not worthy to fight me. What's the matter? Is that all you've got, bragging rights? I'm gonna beat you to a pulp in a minute. With that said, Xiao Xiao immediately pulled out a special Gatling from his crotch. Just for a moment, countless bullets were fired at Aju. But what she didn't expect was, Aju dodged the bullets with just a few random movements. But the president of the club behind him is not so lucky. Good thing he's wearing steel armor. Otherwise, even if Aju hadn't killed him, he also died at the hands of Xiao Xiao. Just then, Xiao Xiao suddenly arrives in front of Aju with an instantaneous movement. Then another 360-degree leap in the air. A moment before it reaches Aju's head, Xiao Xiao hastily pulls off 2 high-explosive grenades. Then he slammed them into Aju's mouth. With a loud boom, Aju was instantly engulfed in flames. But when the smoke cleared, Aju walked out again as if nothing had happened, and even mockingly said, I'm immortal, don't waste your breath. But his words were not yet finished. He was hit in the face with a round of buckshot. Xiao Xiao shouted with an evil grin on his face. Not bad, I was just warming you up. Meanwhile, on the other side, the squad leader asked with a curious look on his face, Vice President Jiang, what exactly did you just do to her? Nothing. I just modified her genes a little bit. And that's just the beginning. And I can make her stronger. The the screen is on Aju's side again, even though he's immortal, but he's still in a lot of pain from all the attacks. At that moment, Xiao Xiao in the middle of the field suddenly laughed wildly to the sky, as if her body had been subjected to an evolution. Seeing this scene, President Bang was completely shocked. Now they just want to go home to their moms. Suddenly Aju takes the lead. A sprint towards Xiao Xiao kills it, but it's a miss. Instead, he was stepped on the ground by Xiao Xiao. With a thud, Xiao Xiao hits Aju in the face with another sweeping kick. The force of the kick sends Aju flying hundreds of meters backwards. At this moment, Xiao Xiao picked up another bazooka and shouted, "Aren't you immortal? How about a taste of this?" At this moment, Aju, who's been beaten up, just got up and saw the gasoline next to him. Then he hurriedly picked up a bucket and poured it into his mouth. At the same time, Xiao Xiao's rockets are also coming towards him at this time. But with a flash of cold light, that rocket was split in two. It turns out the Aju's combat power has gone up a notch with the gasoline. And Xiao Xiao was cut in half by Aju's blow. The president and vice president of the club were shocked to see this. It's over. She's going to die this time. At this point, Aju mocks with a haughty look on his face. "I told you I was immortal. Be more careful in your next life." And yet, just then, Jiangxi on the rooftop suddenly raised his hand and made a fist. In the next second, Xiao Xiao's originally separated body, it miraculously began to heal again. The change was a shock to Aju's face. He didn't expect Xiao Xiao to be immortal. This is the correct way to use a Gatling machine gun. It's a direct hit. Even Aju would be confused. Just now, Xiao Xiao was transformed by the zombie supervirus. Not only has her combat prowess gone up several notches, she's even got the same immortality as Aju. See the scene. At this moment, the two presidents just want to go home and find their mother. On the other hand, the two of them are now getting more and more energized. Xiao Xiao growled with an evil grin on his face and said, "Not bad. I'm happy today, so I'll play with you to the end." Aju, who heard this, was also confused. What's going on? Why does it look like she's more of a zombie? Jiangxi, who was standing on the roof watching, didn't expect. After Xiao Xiao's genetic mutation, she's got so much potential. But at this moment, she's already shattered all over. And the pain of being cut in half just now is real. No, we need to end this fight soon. Aju, since you're not staying home properly, then don't blame me for lending Xiao Xiao a hand to beat you up. With Jiangxi's deliberate manipulation, Xiao Xiao's potential is once again stimulated. Just for a moment, and she's in front of Aju. And then there's a big bang. Xiao Xiao punches Aju in the face. That powerful force caused him to fly upside down dozens of meters. But just then, Xiao Xiao comes up behind him with another flash. And then there's the hammer blow. It hits Aju hard on the side of the head. With a loud thud, when the dust clears, Aju just climbed out of the pit, and he saw Xiao Xiao standing in front of him again. Then came a series of beatings. At this point, Aju has no resistance at all. Seeing that Xiao Xiao was about to give him another set of combo attacks, Aju raises his hands in surrender. And he said he's going home right now. He'll never come out again. Jiangxi is embarrassed to hear this. And Green Hair, who was observing from the surveillance room, was also confused. Suddenly, Xiao Xiao drops the machine gun to the ground. Then the tense state of her whole body disappeared in an instant.
That's it for today's video. If you like our content, be sure to hit that like button. Also, subscribe and click the bell icon so you get the latest updates.